What does it really mean to become an adult? To me, it means nothing, because my life has always been stagnant, like dead water. My parents left me a villa, but it didn't bring me any joy. To me, it felt more like a tomb, one that would bury me here forever. They're not dead, but I'm sure they've been thinking of me as a dead man for a long time. No one has ever cared about me. Literature and writing became my only comfort, my only escape from reality, and my only fantasy of being loved. Until he appeared in my life, Jonathan Miller. He was my literature teacher and also a writer. Although I hadn't met him yet, I finished every book on the reading list he assigned before the holidays. Curious about what kind of person he was, I picked up one of his books. The more I read, the more excited I became. I felt like he was someone who could truly understand me. I made up my mind. I had to make him notice me. I knew he had the habit of arriving at the classroom early, so I also went in an hour ahead of time. Sure enough, he was already there. We had a simple, casual chat. He asked about the reading list, and I eagerly told him I had finished all of it. He seemed a bit surprised. I knew I had successfully caught his interest. But soon, Winnie came in. Even though she was my best friend, I didn't want her to intrude on our little world. But since she was the one who recommended I take this class, I didn't bother arguing and went with her to buy some snacks. Before leaving, I deliberately left one of the books written by Jonathan on the desk, waiting for him to notice. I wanted him to know, I'm not just a good student. I have my own secrets and my own inner world. But days later, what I saw in the corridor completely shocked me. I actually saw my best friend Winnie intentionally drop her books on the floor just to start a conversation with Mr. Boris. Winnie directly told me that she was seducing Boris and even asked me if I was jealous. Her frankness about her feelings surprised me, and I secretly envied her boldness. That night, I got stuck on a Yale University application question. What is your greatest achievement? Winnie and I thought for a long time, but couldn't come up with a good answer. Whether it was money or academic credits, it all felt too boring to me.
You could write a treatise on teacher-student affairs.
How exactly would that be an achievement, Winnie?
Easy. It becomes a conversation about achieving emancipation from your inherited beliefs about sex and age.
I found myself oddly drawn to a thought. I suddenly asked Winnie whether she really planned to have a relationship with Boris. She told me her first time should be with someone older and said Jonathan looked at me differently compared to other students. I pretended not to believe her, but in my heart, I had already started fantasizing about being with him. In class, I couldn't help but keep staring at him. Her words seemed to ignite my life. Her words seemed to ignite my life. My fantasy finally felt like it was getting a response. Jonathan asked if I had ever attended Sally Bunny's Scroll Night Poetry Salon. He actually invited me to go with him that weekend. To me, that didn't feel like a teacher's arrangement for a student. It felt more like a date. When we discussed the stories in the poems, he read a passage aloud and then talked to me about the characters' psychological details. When he praised my writing talent, I could feel my heart racing. He told me I could try writing a novel in the style of my favorite author, which would greatly help my Yale application portfolio. I nodded on the surface, but what I really cared about was whether this meant I was special to him. When we talked about his own works, he told me that after getting married, he had never written again. I became even more certain he wasn't lacking inspiration. He had lost his passion. That weekend, I went to the poetry salon as agreed. Unexpectedly, the event was actually quite interesting, and my conversation with Jonathan was especially enjoyable. In that moment, I felt like we were getting closer, but the good times didn't last long. A few days later, Winnie and I walked into his classroom as usual, only to see him hastily packing up his things to leave. He told us he was going on a trip with his wife. Even though I already knew he had a wife, I still felt abandoned. I told him that the writer I chose to imitate was him. He was visibly shocked, and I saw a flash of surprise and complexity in his eyes. After he left, I suddenly realized my phone was missing. I called it, and Jonathan answered. It turned out my phone had accidentally been packed into his bag. I seized the opportunity and asked him to bring the phone to my house, hoping something might happen. It was raining when Jonathan arrived. In my mind, I couldn't help but fantasize about the two of us standing in the rain, kissing, my heart pounding, as if everything was so beautiful and romantic. But reality was far more complicated. Later, I sent him the story I had written, a story full of hidden meanings, where the relationship between the protagonists was almost a replica of what had happened between us. In that moment, I was both nervous and expectant, not knowing how he would react, but he never replied. On Monday, I waited for Jonathan in the classroom. I thought he would look at me gently like before and praise my talent, But when he walked in, he just greeted me coldly and brushed past me. He told me seriously that I had to choose another writer because what I had written was inappropriate, as if I had done something wrong. My mind was instantly in chaos. Why? I tried to explain, but Jonathan insisted I rewrite it and choose a different author. His tone was that of a stranger. He even said what happened between us was a misunderstanding. I angrily accused him, saying we were true soulmates, but he just told me coldly that if I didn't rewrite it, he would fail me on the midterm. I was furious. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I forced myself not to let a single drop fall.
Tell me what it made you feel.
Incredibly foolish for having trusted this material to a child.
Pointing at him, I gritted my teeth and told him,
You wanna fail me? I fucking dare you.
I don't care about passing or failing. What I care about is him playing dumb, him being too cowardly to admit the truth. I knew I was out of control, but I didn't care. At that moment, I just wanted to smash all my anger and disappointment into him. At home, I drank and cried, with only Winnie by my side. I couldn't help but think about this failed relationship and asked Winnie to help distract me. I asked how things were going between her and Boris. Winnie admitted she genuinely wanted Boris to like her, wanted to have a relationship with him. But unexpectedly, Boris avoided giving her a response. He simply told Winnie to go to sleep. His cold attitude reminded me of Jonathan again. In a burst of anger, I asked Winnie to take off her top with me.
We are gonna make out. For him, not for you.
We pressed close together and started kissing. I took photos and Winnie sent them to Boris. If they think we're just kids, then let's show them just how adult we can be. That day, I anonymously submitted the story I wrote to the principal. If I couldn't have him, I'd rather destroy him. This was my way of getting revenge on Jonathan. He had to pay the price for hurting me. For the next few days, I didn't go to school. I locked myself in my room, replaying every detail from the moment Jonathan became cold to the moment I submitted the story. My phone kept ringing. I knew Winnie was looking for me. Maybe the teachers, maybe even the principal, but I didn't want to face them. Winnie found me at home and questioned me about what I was doing to Jonathan. Why couldn't my best friend understand me either? I had poured my most genuine feelings into that story, but he said it was inappropriate. I knew it wasn't about academic appropriateness. He was afraid I would drag him into trouble. He had enjoyed the closeness, but he didn't dare admit it. I was the one who gave my true heart and bravely accepted myself, yet now it seemed like I was the one who destroyed everything. I told her I would testify at the school hearing, but Winnie thought I had gone too far and said she would testify against me. I wasn't afraid. I had evidence of Winnie's inappropriate relationship with the male teacher. I threatened her. If she dared testify, I would expose everything. That way, even if she testified for Jonathan, she would no longer be credible. It was her who helped me find myself, but now she said this wasn't what she meant. I didn't care about anything anymore. I treated this as a game, completely unhinged. She told me this was never a game. Of course I knew this wasn't a game, because as I spoke,
This is, to date, my greatest achievement.
I was standing on my bed, which now felt like my own stage. I loudly read out the story I had written, about me and Jonathan, about the unspeakable emotions and entanglements between us. The words were like bullets, one by one shattering the silence, the pretentiousness, and his so-called teacher-student boundary. Didn't you say I'm just a child? Then let me show you what a child can write, and how she can tear apart the carefully constructed life of an adult. I know this is crazy, but I have never felt so clear-headed. I am not confessing, I am accusing. I trapped him on paper with this story. So he could no longer escape, no longer deny it. Even if it's just one page, he could never pretend nothing happened. In that moment, I was no longer a student, no longer a victim, no longer a lover. I was truly a writer.